Hi, good afternoon. My name is Michael Round. I'm a junior consultant here at Nolan Business Solutions, and today I'm going to go over a couple of highlights that I've picked out from NetSuite's 2017.1 release notes. As you know, they update NetSuite periodically, and when they do this, they always flag up a full list of release notes that you guys can access on the internet at any point. If you just stick it into the Google search engine, whatever their edition may be, you'll find a comprehensive list, and it will go into detail of their full update, which is really, really good. So a couple of highlights that we're going to go over today, and by no means this is full list. This is a very few specific bits that have been picked out. We're only going to go over three. So first of all, we're going to go over a couple of enhancements that have been done to the customer dashboard. We're going to look at the new performance metrics for the support cases, and then we're going to have a look at some fixed asset management enhancements. And the good thing is that 2017.1 should be released in your production account now. So after this webinar, if you'd like to take advantage of any of the these particular updates that we've shown you today, you can go ahead and do them yourselves. We've set up for that. So I suppose the first thing I want to go over is, or to talk about, is the enhancements to the customer dashboard. So in 2017.1, there have been a number of functional and visual enhancements made to the particular dashboard. Most prominent of all is the timeline portlet that actually gives you a really nice overview of all of the customer's activity in chronological order, which is really nice. We've also then got the option to default the view to the customer dashboard as well. Now, the customer dashboard is sometimes something that our customers aren't very aware of, but it can be a very, very good visual tool if you wanted your users to look at data visually rather than just in lists. So in certain situations it can be nice. So today we'll be going over exactly what the customer dashboard is, what it contains, and how you can actually default it, which is really quite cool. The second is the new performance metrics for support cases. So as of 2017.1, support managers and representatives now have access to a new, more comprehensive set of metrics for analysing and tracking support performance, especially those related to service level agreements. So a couple of use cases we had recently was how to manage actually support cases for service level agreements, or how to manage your service level agreements when you're actually communicating with your customers. So all of these new metrics are actually hard coded in, and they'll come as default with your account, which is quite nice. So if you have to adhere to a certain service level agreement, you can actually track and record it, which is really quite cool. And third of all, we've just got a couple of enhancements in the fixed asset management add-on. So we can now add asset proposal sublist customization, so we can add new fields and we can add more than one asset proposal sublist, which is pretty cool. We can also, right from the off, map the transaction fields to the asset and proposal record. So when we're actually raising, say, a bill or an invoice, we can bring through an asset in there and have it directly mapped to the asset or the asset proposal record, which is pretty cool. Okay, so we're just going to jump out of this screen and head into our NetSuite demo, and we're going to talk over a few of the points, starting with the customer dashboard. So probably first to consider, actually, before I hop onto that, I just want to show you the particular release notes that we have access to. So as you can see, it's laid out really nicely. This was actually, we have a full glossary here, so we can actually go through and pick out exactly what we want to see. But as you can see, the document is quite long. There's loads of releases, so you can go ahead and read through it yourselves. Okay, so just jump into our NetSuite. We're going to talk about the customer dashboard. So traditionally, when you're viewing the customers, you're probably used to seeing the form view as we see it now. Quite a lot of people don't know this actually. Customers actually have dashboards available to them which mimic the dashboard on the home page, or they're structured similarly anyway. So say for example, if you actually click this button here, it will load the customer form in a dashboard view. And what you'll notice is you can actually be a lot more visual with this, so you can have things like graphs, KPIs, and the good thing about this is it works exactly the same as the standard KPIs on a global level on your customers, or on your home dashboard, it just refines all the results and sets the criteria to that particular customer only, so it will narrow down your sales. So you can see here this customer, it will only show the item summary, the items that they've purchased, and it will only show you the value for items that they've purchased. Again, this list is fairly exhaustive. You can make it roll around cases, sales orders, invoices, any particular documents that you're interested in. One thing that I've seen quite often is to actually have, say, an aging report for the particular customer up here, so it can give you a very nice visual aid there. Again, if you haven't seen the customer dashboard, go through it in detail, but there's lots of customizations that you can do with it. Obviously, you can see the contacts laid out differently here in a list view. We can export this easily by clicking on the two, and then it will come out in an Excel format. And we've got loads of options here to do with financial and sales reporting. Just like Sandy, you can create documents off of that just by hovering over this. You can associate tasks, events, phone calls, and transactions from this record. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, it's just taking exactly the same data and manipulating it to, in a view that you're going to be most productive with. So one of the key things I wanted to bring up here is, and one of the points that they actually added to in NetSuite 2017.1 is the actual the addition of this particular timeline portlet. Now this is really nice because it actually gives you an overview of the customer story end by end. Quite often what you find with the forms in NetSuite, although it gives you a really nice 365-degree view of a customer, it doesn't actually give you a full order of what of which events occurred, so phone call before transaction. Because it categorizes it all, you can only see one avenue or the other, so you can typically sort by document type or record type. Here it merges them all together. So if we just scroll back through the timeline, we can actually see that it starts in if we scroll right to the bottom, see it starts in July 2016 with a couple of phone calls, and you can see how the customer story builds up. You can see then an event what occurred for a meeting. We can then see some cases have been cropped up, possibly asking for a quote, and then we've got quotes, campaign responses, and subsequently some orders. So you can see the full customer story, which is really nice. Again, some functionality that I've actually added in here is the ability to filter and actually drop in and out what exactly, what records you actually want to see in your timeline. So you can actually say if you weren't interested in seeing events, or sorry, if you weren't interested in seeing campaign responses, phone calls, and events, you could simply drop off those and it would narrow down your list. So what's pretty cool about this is just like anything in NetSuite, you can just obviously drill into all the records and load them up directly from this list value. So again, you can always have that drill down functionality. So that's one of my favorite additions to 2017.1. So we're going to talk about, we've shown you how to get that, so you can just head up to personalize and add it to the timeline. But what we're going to do is we're going to show you how a second feature update is how to actually automatically preload this customer dashboard when you select a customer. So for example, if you were to go into lists, relationships, customers, and open up your customer list, obviously you'll get a list of your customers per customer dashboards. Subsequently, if you say type the customer's name in the search bar, it will give you a list of customers. One thing you'll note at the moment is when we actually load a customer record, it will load in the classic form view. What we're going to try and achieve is actually loading the customer record in the dashboard view, so you can always so you can choose whether or not you want to do that. So, and you guys can do this right off the bat today if you want to. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go back to our home screen, and we're just going to hover over the home icon up here, and where we're going to head is to set preferences. Now this preference will be done individually per account, so each user will need to go in and specify this, but it should only be a few clicks. And if you're used to using NetSuite, you'll probably notice that you can access a lot of it through set preferences, which is quite nice. We go ahead and access set preferences. Obviously you've got a load of preferences for showing internal IDs, your language preferences, the number of list values in your that appear in your list, things like that before it goes to a search field, and we've also got some options of whether you want to send documents via HTML or PDF. So loads of stuff in there. What we can also do is, and to access the functionality we want, we could also head to the Appearance tab over here. And what you'll notice is under Centers and Dashboards, two little things. You can actually nominate your landing page for when you actually log into NetSuite. Most people it would go to Home by default, but again you can override this if you want as well. So the reason why we're in here is because we want to activate this little button here, Set Customer Dashboard as default view on customer record. Now it's interesting actually because quite recently we actually had the requirement for a customer to do this because they were a visual company. They wanted to see charts and things for customers. We weren't able to do it. We were only able to provide a workaround. But now we have a functionality where they can go ahead and do this. So that's very nice in NetSuite to allow them to do that. If we just go ahead and click Save on here, it will go ahead and save that preference on this account. What you'll notice is now that when we drop in the customer name to the global search, we can load the customer record again. And one thing to note here is if you didn't have this preference saved, if you didn't have it to preference onto the customer dashboard, you could quite easily just go ahead and select Dash up here and it would load into that dashboard for you. Hopefully though now, because we've set it as a preference to load into the dashboard, we can just go ahead and select this. So if we go ahead and do this, with a bit of luck, it should load up. And there we go, the customer dashboard. So, and that's pretty much it. And obviously you can toggle it on and off if you like. And what you'll notice is the customer dashboard is quite smart. It's actually preserved our preferences on the timeline, and it will do in things like save search and list values. Just like the normal the normal home dashboard, if you're familiar with applying save searches and list values, you can go ahead and do that. For example, if I wanted to add a new portlet for, say, transactions, I could come up here and add the list activity. So you can add cases associated with a particular customer. You can add transactions associated with them, phone calls, events, all sorts of CRM records, yeah, and loads of clever bits like that. So it's really nice. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the customer dashboard. As I said, it's a very short thing, but again, if you work it into how you actually manage your CRM in NetSuite at the moment, it could be really powerful in how the information is actually displayed to your users. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to go on to talk about today is the case metrics, as I said. And this is particularly important in companies that have to adhere to SLA agreements. So as I said, we've come across this again, and we've had to put in some custom work. However, it is now standard, which is really cool. So what we can do is we can go ahead and to activate this, we'll have to go ahead and customize the form somewhat and add the functionality to it. So as standard, it won't enable it on your account. You'll just have to go in and add it to the form. So it's quite simply, you just have to be in an administrator profile, and then you'll click Edit on the case record, and you'll click Customize and Customize Form in the top right hand corner. This will allow you to go and edit the form. One new addition to the subtabs, which is, as you'll notice, these are considered subtabs of communication, time tracking, related records. One addition that you'll notice marked as not shown is this new subtab called metrics. So we go ahead and click on that. That'll be a first step to it. What we also need to do is we need to go ahead and nominate the fields, and we need to hover over to the subtab of a subtab for metrics, and then this will give us all our metric options. So you can see that we've got loads in here, time elapsed to time closed, initial response times, things like that. And just to add them all, we can get a perspective of what's on there. We can go ahead and just tick them all. So it's dead simple. In about just going to one screen, the form screen, we can go ahead and activate all the metrics on this particular case record. If we just save that down, and if we navigate back to the case, if we actually click cancel on this, this will load it back into the view, and we'll notice that this metrics tab has just appeared. If you're familiar with manipulating forms inside NetSuite, again, you can move these sub-tabs around so you can have it load where you want. If you want to have some content come out of a metrics tab and go into your primary information, again, you can swap elements between sub-tabs, so it's entirely up to yourself. If we just load up the metrics tab, you'll notice that we've got a whole host of information here that's been pre-filled. Nice thing about these is, as well, is it's hard-coded, so it will be going on in the background. Another good thing about this is, as well, is that it will all be information that you can actually select when you're using the report builder to report on your support cases, so it will all be in there as well. Again, and that comes out in a really nice format. So this case, unfortunately, has been elapsed for 445 days, but it's now closed, so it's good. Okay, and yeah, that's pretty much it for support cases. Again, it's a really nice little bit of powerful functionality. I'm sure you can see its use if you're dealing with SLAs and things like that. Again, you come to support, and if we come down to cases, we can find a whole host of standard case reports that come out of the box of NetSuite, and you can use all these particular fields and add them when you're customizing your reports in the report builder. Okay, so moving swiftly on, we have we're going on to fixed asset management, and what I discussed before is we can actually the addition of asset proposal sublist customization. So on the fixed asset proposal now, we can actually add sub-proposals and we can actually customize all the view of each set of proposals, which is really nice. So in effect, you can have asset proposals and asset proposals, and you can rearrange all the screens and add new columns and things to that such to get what you want. So to do this, again, you've got to be a little bit familiar with how form management works in NetSuite and how you customize forms. Usually, you get about it in a administrator role. You can start by clicking edit on the role, and you just head up to customize, and you can go ahead and customize your form there. Again, once you've actually added your asset sub-proposals down at the bottom here, you can go ahead and create custom views, pushing up the relevant information of what you need to see. So you can see this customize button is relatively new here. So probably more importantly, on the fixed asset management proposal and fixed asset record is the ability to map transactions from the transaction to the asset or the asset proposal record, which is pretty cool. So before we had to do this in custom fields, but now it's pretty much standard. So say, for example, we raise a bill now, we have the ability to actually go ahead and assign a related asset to any particular line item. That will then automatically link up to the asset proposal down here, which is really quite nice. So this just has to take a little bit of setup, so it's not that hard to do. I'm going to show you how to do that now. So if you go onto your transaction record, and if we click edit, we can then swiftly follow on and enter the form builder of customize form, and just load that up. When you're in customize form, you want to go ahead and you want to navigate to the screen fields option, and then you want to navigate to the items option. Under the items option, there'll be a new item or a new column called related asset. You simply have to tick this, and then when you actually load up a new bill, it'll give you the option to go ahead and drop in the related asset from the related asset list. So for an example from this edit bill, we can actually edit an old asset, and we can just scroll over here, and we can go ahead and pick from a list of assets or asset proposals that are currently in our system. So that's really quite cool. And that pretty much concludes today's webinar. I know it was a short one, less than 20 minutes, but we've run through a couple of really strong updates in NetSuite. So you've got the ability to actually set the customer dashboard as a default on when you're loading up a customer dashboard. you've also got the addition of that timeline portlet on the customer dashboard, which is really nice for seeing the customer story and building it up. We've also got the case management or the case management metrics, the new ones, and we've shown you how to update those. And we've also got the new additions to the fixed asset management module, so we can add the asset links from transaction to the actual asset itself. So thank you all for listening, guys. I know it's been a short one, and if you have any questions in particular, I'd like to invite you to either call in or drop us an email at sales@nolanbusinesssolutions.com. So yeah, thank you very much for listening.